never-ending blue market. Take a look. Look at that, guys. Kim would be like retiring on that move, wouldn't she? Look at that for a blue side RGL move. Unbelievable, isn't it? So $88 started at $88.50, and it traded $95 without going red once. Without going red once, it traded $6,500 higher from the big board. And obviously the target price that we had given you a long time ago was $95. And obviously you can see what happened last night. So this was about 10 past 2 last night. You'll see that we tweeted out the information around about 2 o'clock that we'd achieved this price, and we finished up probably about 3 o'clock this morning, just closing out lots and lots of long positions. And then, of course, that opens the door to a possible short revival. Take a look at what happened in here. Fast money sell, slow money rally. Fast money sell, slow money rally. Somebody else is now shorting this as well. Immediately you come into your session, you're thinking sell side business. I'm assuming if you've done any of the work on the fast and the slows, if you've done any work on the toxic trader behavior, because I would imagine that you would have this area here already marked as a commercial seller or a toxic seller, whatever you want to call it, or a program sell. You could put a program sell into that price area there, and you could obviously then do exactly the same. Another program sell comes out of this price. You see that toxic behavior? Well, that's got to be program selling, right? There's got to be some sort of program sell in there, toxic selling. And you can see that that price gave us our starting point for a beautiful morning London session trade. Beautiful morning London session trade, right? And the beautiful morning London session trade was obviously short selling this. And, well, you can see that we had a vast number of opportunities to make some monies. We had a measured move down at the 93 wholesale, and we got within, literally, we got within 3 ticks of 93. You couldn't make it up. We've gone 94.50 to 93s this morning for $1,500 in the London session. That's the direct swing. I mean, we've made a lot more than that. I mean, you see how many sellable spring trades there's been, how many sellable failed auctions there's been, and all we've done is we just keep making those decisions. One of the things you'll probably recognize is one of the things we've just been talking about on the S&P. You start to recognize when the intern doesn't get paid. Where did the intern stop getting paid? The intern stopped getting paid in here. So at this point here, I'm now considering this to be the end of trend move. Make sense? So this is now considered the end of trend move, which means, you know, you stop trying to press it. You stop trying to make the big play. And obviously when we broke structure here, there was a very strong push. So I was still thinking we might have a little bit more, but guess what happened shortly after that? We got an end of trend line right there as well, didn't we? Another end of trend line right there. So you start recognizing these end of trend type outcomes. An end of trend is when they buy the bottom edge, when they buy the breakout trade. That is what we call the end of trend starting to come in, because all that means is it doesn't mean it's not a sell, and it doesn't mean it is now a buy. What it means is it's the end of the momentum sell trend. And on the basis that it's the end of the sell trend, if we're going to sell it, we now need to sell it at swing highs. We need to sell it in rotational swings. Whereas when we're getting successful trending trades here, we can sell into springs and presses. Successful trade here, we can sell into springs and presses. Successful trade here, we can sell into springs and presses. Failed auction. Let's pull it back and let's go back rotational. We go into rotation, we start seeing it happening. We see an end of trend trade here again, and we say, okay, we're starting to see a picture building here. This looks like every drawing we've ever made on oil. Every drawing we've ever made on any market. It feels like the same thing starting to happen. You've got the trending phase and you've got the end of trend phase. Whether it's good enough to start buying bottom edges is a different question. It should be very difficult to buy the bottom edge. A very strong short sell into a bottom edge that gets absorbed should then start to build a storyline allowing you to make the obvious decisions at the right time. So we start looking for those elements, we start looking into the oil prices, and we start looking for those sellers getting absorbed into bottom lines. And it wasn't really very visible at first. You can see if we look at this chart here and we start to consider any of these ideas, you can see there's not a lot in it. And there isn't a lot in it. If we look at the X contract here, we can look for that seller at lower prices. We can see that there is an example here. If you draw a line across the chart there, and you draw the delta, can we all agree that there is definitely a buyer's auction developing off these low prices? When we saw the delta dropping here and the price was still at this point, you now know that there's a very high probability the next move is going to go higher. It's dead obvious. The next move did go higher. By a fair amount of money, by the way, as well. When we saw another seller's auction starting to come in here, you're thinking to yourself, I can see the greens, I think it's going to go higher. Well, it disappointed on that occasion, still made you some money. And obviously you're now thinking to yourself, well, I still think this is now probably very definitely a buyer's auction at this stage, agreed? And then we get another opportunity to buy into it. And that's still the current case, is it still looks like it's still a buyer's auction. And the idea is that we're still going to be going into this on a long side based on the auction at the moment, based on simply the auction. Not difficult at all. Really, actually, quite easy. But it's only easy if you keep using the same tools every day without jumping across and doing different things and looking for the next shiny object. If you just stay disciplined and keep learning one piece at a time, one single line at a time, one piece of knowledge at a time, and you start verifying that knowledge with the outcomes and look backwards to try and see if you've saw any more of those examples. All you do is you just keep repeating the same good practices that you made money on the last time, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time it does, if your practice is set up on the basic foundation of trading. Good auctions, good value, good price levels, good order flow. So welcome, guys. Let's get through what we've seen this morning. Obviously, we've had that some data out this morning, which is a little bit interesting, obviously. Inflation, German inflation.